Hello, welcome back to Aetheral Space 13.6. Fish.
Whoa. Fishing? Is fishing even... Fishing is not a fucking meal during a banquet.
Fish. You're not fishing. You don't take out a little tiny fishing rod and put it in your soup. Of course not.
That's the highest level of elite. We have to catch the fish as you eat. It's like the ultimate mockery of the poor. You're literally catching fish in a barrel.
I have servants who fish for me, darling.
See, what it is there are these fish...
Eustenio, bring over that little orphan boy who's such a good angler.
Papa, I'm so hungry. Oh, don't worry, we'll be eating soon.
With fishing rods. You don't need fingers to fish, darling.
You don't need to fish where you're going, in the soup.
What happens... I heard when we catch 100 fish, we're able to go to the above city. But when that happens, they get turned into fish.
Sorry, but you're never leaving groundwater alive.
It's like, I finally got 100 fish, now I can go to the fish house and be sent up the elevator to the
above
world.
And then the fish house is a factory that turns people into fish?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not here about this. We're here about fucking 13.6. Are you ready to rumble?
I am ready to rumble.
Alright. Let's see if I still have the juice. I've been a little off these last few days. Get my throat clear, get my nose clear.
Did you hear about Elden Ring Night Rain?
I did. It's going to be Kino. I watched the whole Game Awards. It ruled. This year I honestly thought fucking ruled. It was really good. I can't believe Astrobot won. I really didn't think they would let it.
I'm Astrobot.
Wow, that was a perfect Astrobot. A 30-year-old white boy speaks perfect Astrobot.
Robots are stunned. I'm not 30, by the way, I'm 29, so let's get that clear.
Sorry, guy who's pushing 30 speaks in perfect Astrobot.
No.
What? How much more pushing 30 can you be than 29? You're damn near got your hand on the trap door there.
I'll just find a new body.
I don't think so. I think you're out of time, Buster.
Why do you think you've been invited here today?
Alright, we have to read.
Okay.
Fuck my nose. Hang on, I'm trying to get it all cleared. And... okay. 550. Cursand! Aklyma pressed her hands against the pink bubble surrounding her, but there was no response. No scream, no horror as her target's body erupted into gore. Whatever this strange barrier was, it had only been generated by Aether. Now that it was in the world, it was only the material's own physical properties that were keeping her trapped. As she watched the cityscape rush by outside her new cage, frustration swelled in Aklyma's heart. Damn it! Everyone going after her knew what she could do, and so they had simply found ways around it. The power she thought gave her an advantage, the ability that was supposed to make her the natural enemy of Aether users, was so easily circumvented. She pounded her fists in fury against the pink walls, but they just bounced back as if to mock her. Damn it! In the distance, she could see Gregory Hazard in pursuit. Was this really all she could do? Watch and wait for another traitor to come rescue her? It wasn't as if she didn't know Hazard's game. He'd said it himself. To make his dream come true, he needed the favor of the Supreme. Rather than betting everything on an assassination attempt with Aklyma, it would be more convenient for him to deliver the former heir to the new Supreme himself, and gain favor that way. If Hazard saved her here, all she'd be doing was passing into a new clawed hand. Damn it! Nothing had changed. Nothing had ever changed. Balte, a toy, Gregory, they were all the same, all seeking to exploit her for their own ends. All liars. All traitors. Damn it, damn it, damn it! Red-hot hatred boiled in her veins as she thought about the words she'd said on that rooftop, the stolen sympathy she'd given that bastard. She wouldn't forgive. Never, 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 never! Damn it! Aklyma's fists exploded into a flare of synchronized ether as she slammed them into the barrier once more. And this time, the bubble could not hold up. The material tore open, fresh air flooding into the sphere, the chill of the early morning pouring over Aklyma like a balm. The monster, who had been dragging the bubble along by a chain, snapped its head around. What? Impossible! Oh! For a second it slowed down, and that second looked like it would have been fatal. It had provided an opening, after all. Gregory Hazard was suddenly upon it, slashing a blade directly at its head. But once again, the attack passed through without even making contact. Just kidding! Aklyma leapt out of the torn open bubble, landing on an adjacent rooftop, and immediately she kicked off, avoiding the second bubble that appeared around where she'd just been standing. It seemed this thing hadn't given up on taking her alive. She kept running, and it kept making bubbles, pink spheres rolling across the floor as she barely avoided capture. "It's a shame," the creature mocked. "I was hoping just to suffocate you a little until you fell unconscious. But it seems I'll have to get a little rough with you after all, As it ranted, Gregory continued attacking, darting through the air as he slashed at it again and again. Each attack missed, but now, with the phenomenon occurring over and over again, Aklyma could actually see what was happening. Her stomach churned. In the instant before Gregory's blade made contact, the body of the creature would warp to avoid it. A dent would push down into its head, an arm would bend inwards, its torso would compress to the width of a pencil. Whatever the manifestation of the ability, the result was the same. Gregory's ability would pass through empty air, and the deformity would snap back a moment later. It noticed that she noticed. Impressed? It chuckled. "It's understandable. This is Invincible Allison, a particularly potent evasive ability. The original user, Allison, of course, didn't have a body suited to extensive use. Oh, but when we visited her in the hospital, we were quite happy to give her absolution. Why not catch your breath and see what it's like? Smile? No? Oh well." It raised its mouth arm, and the jaws snapped open. "Blaise Pesci!" The limb belched forth a sphere of what looked like brain matter, the projectile thudding into the rooftop right in front of Aklyma's path. The danger was instinctual. Bomb! She skidded to a halt as she moved to avoid it, and in that instant she heard the bomb. She heard it speak. "Wait!" it cried in a voice warped by torment. "Wait! Don't do it! Please! Please!" Oops. Blah. The bomb screamed as it exploded with force far beyond its size, sending Aklyma flying back, slamming her back against the wall. Blood sprayed from her mouth as she crumpled down, pain holding her down just as well as any restraint. The enemy chuckled as they slowly touched down on the rooftop, their necks snapping at a right angle to avoid Gregory's swings. "Oh, my apologies," it said, wings retracting into its back. "I was so irritated by this fly, that I might have gone a little too hard. Well, if you're still breathing, that's just well enough. Just so you know, though, Mr. Hazard, even if you manage to get around my auto-dodge, my Godsheen ability is strong enough that your attacks will actually just be paper cuts. So I wouldn't waste your precious energy if I were you. Now then." The monster lifted its mouth arm and reloaded, the length of the limb pulsing like a cat preparing to vomit, as its body flickered in place. What's up?
Is that too real for you, sorry?
No, I'm good. As its body flickered in place, dodging Gregory's lightning-fast attacks, the panel covering its own mouth slid open, revealing a wide and cruel grin. "One for the road, princess?" Blaise Pesci opened its mouth to fire, but never got the chance. Unchained! The effect was immediate. In an instant, the creature was slammed against the rooftop, the attack taking place over too wide an area for it to automatically avoid. Blaise Pesci, more organic than the rest of it, was immediately reduced to pulp, but the rest of its body survived, metal skin scraping together as it slowly tried to pick itself up, struggling against the intensified gravity. It shouldn't have bothered. If it had just accepted death, it wouldn't have had to face that man. Mariloko strode across the rooftop, clad in nothing more than a pair of boxer shorts, his gaze disinterested. Tubes and medical instruments hung limp off his form. Clearly, when this man had decided to leave the hospital, he'd just taken part of it with him. Scratching the back of his head, he regarded the enemy as it finally reached a crouching position. It seethed as it looked back at him, its compound eyes flaring red. "Lo! Unchained," Mariloko repeated, yawning. The gravity intensified once again, pressing the creature further against the roof. The armor finally began to give way, and so limbs ruptured, spilling their slurried contents onto the ground around them, fracture lines spreading all over the parts of the body that somehow managed to remain relatively intact. A true dent slowly established itself on the monster's head, like someone was slowly digging a finger in, and for a moment it looked like the skull might just burst too. But no. There was a burst of blood, but it didn't come from the skull. It came from the neck. The monster screeched as its head suddenly popped off of its body, launching itself towards Mariloko. The crimson wings erupted from its temples, propelling it forward, and its mouth became a spinning dervish of whirring fangs. "You utter fool!" it screamed. "Malkuth's technology is the finest in the galaxy!" At first, Mariloko said nothing. He just crossed his arms and watched the head shoot forward. Then, he raised a single eyebrow. Well, well, he finally said, in the moment before the head could strike his throat. Guardian entity, Hachiman! Eh? Huh? Praetorian 2 found its righteous anger suddenly replaced by confusion as its kill flight stopped, inches from Mariloko's throat. It stretched out its fangs as much as it was able, but they still couldn't quite reach the short man's skin. What had happened? It could still feel the wings produced by the red wallpaper, so what was stopping it from moving? It wiggled and understood. He'd been skewered. A wooden spear had literally come out of nowhere, impaling Praetorian 2 from temple to temple, and now its owner held their prize aloft. A reaper of straw and flame, wielding a weapon in each of its 4 hands, a skull grinning sightlessly up at the trapped Malkuth warrior. It floated over the ground, and its master stepped out from behind it. A young man with unkempt white hair and jagged black antlers. Another target. Praetorian 2 checked its records. Nail Manring. You took your time, grunted Mariloko. Was that his voice?
Yeah.
You took your time, grunted Mariloko. What was Manrin's voice again?
It was kind of like lethargic, maybe like this a little bit.
I thought you could handle it yourself, muttered Manrin. You were testing me? Mariloko said nothing. Foolish, both of them foolish. Celebrating victory without confirming it. Did they think they had killed Praetorian 2? Ha! It would take far more than this to defeat one blessed by Her Majesty. Even now, the Praetorian was calculating a plan to turn this situation around. Taking all the variables into account, along with existing damage and abilities, the chance for success was 22.3%. Nearly a 1 in 4 chance of surviving this encounter, eliminating 4 targets and obtaining Cursand. It would take that chance and turn it into certainty. It would... Uploading ability, Godsheen. Your Majesty? Uploading ability, Invincible Allison. Uploading ability, Robin in the Night Garden. Uploading ability, Blaise Pesci. Your Majesty, I need those abilities to execute the plan. Uploading ability, The Red Wallpaper. Uploading ability, XL Replicant N. Uploading ability, Capture Ball. Your Majesty, Your Majesty. Hello? Severing link. Oh. Hachiman turned its spear, and the head of the monster dropped to the floor, roughly twisted in half. A few sparks flew from the mechanical components, landing in the black speckled blood that flew freely. Assume flowed freely?
Oh, yeah.
Red light flickered in the compound eyes for just a few moments, before dying out completely. There, Manrin said calmly, kicking the head away. Looks like the Queen didn't want to risk losing any abilities on this. Mariloko glanced at him. You know these things. We were in the same business, Manrin explained, his second guardian entity fading away behind him. It's just common sense for me to be familiar with the competition. Mariloko said nothing. The noise creaked out of Aklima's throat. She lay against the wall, her eyes flicking between the 2 new arrivals, her injured body swaying between relief and caution. Once again, the situation had escaped her understanding. Here were 2 contestants from the Dawn contest, 2 warriors who'd lost to a toy Musashi. What were they doing here? Why had they saved her? She opened her mouth to ask, but before she could, Nail Manrin interrupted. The Supreme Heir, huh? He sighed, slinging his shamisen over his shoulder, an awkward motion, giving his missing arm. Looks like we got tricked, big guy. Mariloko, big in presence if not height, just stayed standing there, his arms crossed, as still, presumably, as a statue.
Well, actually, in 10 arcs time, I'm going to introduce a character called Atil, and this will be a reference.
Atil Musashi?
Yeah. If you look back and like, oh, that's what he meant.
Tricked? Aklima breathed. Tricked? What do you mean tricked? Who are you looking for? Like I even have to ask. Mariloko glanced down at her. A toy Musashi. Oh, really? Oh, really? Asked a voice through the night. Gregory Hazard finally reappeared, emerging from the cloud of smoke that the Malkuth warrior's death had produced. His arms unfolded as he walked over, returning to their normal shape, but his red eyes remained cold and fixed upon the new arrivals. Paper-white aether sneakily trickled up the back of his wrist. He was ready for another fight. Aklima knew that she wasn't. If you were tricked, Gregory asked, narrowing his eyes, who exactly tricked you? Mariloko and Nail Manrin just looked at him. No, Aklima realized. They didn't look at Gregory Hazard at all. They looked at the person standing directly behind him. Who? A hand of bundled thread landed on Gregory's shoulder. Why, that's a 10 out of 10 question if I ever heard one, my boy. 6 o'clock. That makes 9. Jamilu.
Oh my god, you really can't tell the time.
Jamilu pulled Victory free of the enemy's carcass, tearing out what amounted to its digestive organs in the process. It plummeted after its... Ooh. Wrong guts, buddy.
Victory, target his balls.
Ah! My balls! It plummeted after its guts, body smashed to pieces by the racing traffic below. It didn't matter, he knew. Even though there could only be 108 proper members of the Hive of Malkuth at any given time, there was no such limit on the number of thralls they could convert. Each time they killed the drone, some unfortunate walking corpse would no doubt be promoted to take its place. Which meant fighting like this was pointless, which meant that their focus had to be on escape, which meant... With me! Jamilu barked, diving off of the overhang they'd been fleeing across. Ruth Blaine and the spirit medium, carrying the Delseds, followed a moment later, and as one they smashed through the massive window before them. Strobing light and deafening music spilled out of the building as they passed through this unorthodox entrance. A club, at the height of celebration for the end of the Dawn contest. The party was still in such full swing that barely anyone even seemed to notice the window shattering. They did notice the next part, though. As the trio landed in the midst of the party, Jamilu whirled around, slashing through the chest of a pursuing drone. Red and black blood sprayed everywhere as the pink light of Jamilu's aether filled the room, and that got the message across. A chorus of screams joined the music as the crowd rushed to escape the sudden battle, flowing towards the exits like a lake being drained. Jamilu glanced at Blaine and the girl. Blend in with the crowd as they leave, he said seriously. The escape ship is at Alan Grace Memorial Shopping Center. Make your way there. I'll deal with these creatures and rendezvous with you there. Blaine's eyes flicked between him and the insect men amassing on the other side of the broken window. You sure? I don't want to be rude, Miss Blaine, Jamilu cut her off, but as you are right now, you would be a hindrance to me. Besides, I have a promise to keep to Muzazi. Go! The medium hadn't needed to hear it twice. She'd already run off, but Ruth took a second to choose retreat. A battle raged across her face. But eventually, she nodded, and eventually she turned. She vanished out of the doors alongside their odd new comrade. Oh, Victory chuckled. What's this? You sacrificing yourself, brat? Silence, Jamilu said sternly, striding through the parting crowd to meet his enemies. I'm not so weak that I need to give my life to defeat enemies of this caliber. Cocky shit! Let's see if you can still say that when... Jamilu interrupted. Compass! He snapped. Power of 1! Immediately the spear flew from his grip and spun in the air, before finally pointing straight at a drone at the back of the incoming horde. As Jamilu had suspected, in the last few minutes, the enemies had started using abilities at the same time. That support unit was sharing the powers between the group. It would have to die quickly. It was time for Jamilu Aguta to earn his title. The Hive of Malkuth charged, and Nebula 2 met them. 2 stabs of victory slew two drones so quickly that Jamilu had already run past them before their knees could even buckle. A third seized him with burly arms of binding chains, grasping him by the hands and holding him in place for a moment, but only for a moment. Jamilu spat right between the creature's eyes. Calamity! The saliva burst into pink flames, forcing the drone to relax its grip, and Jamilu immediately broke free. He stepped to the side as a fourth drone lunged for his back, spat in his hand, and ignored that as well.
That should be ignited, sorry.
Ignited that as well. With that additional power, it was easy for him to plunge a hand right through his attacker's chest and pull free their heart. The third drone, its head still aflame, fired a machine gun volley from its shifting arm, and Jamilu span Victory to deflect the bullets, his gaze cold. Is he doing like the twirl it really fast in a circle? I love that. As he deflected, he advanced. 2 seconds were all he needed to close the distance, seize hold of the gun arm, and tear it free. From there, it was just a matter of applying force. 2 heavy blows to the head of the drone with its own severed arm were enough to finish it. The drones knew no fear, and continued to attack even as Jamilu massacred them. Heads and limbs flew in every direction as they were severed, the numbers assaulting the club constantly replenished by a steady stream of reinforcements from outside. Excuse me. However many thralls the Hive had created on this planet, they were surely keeping them nearby. Ideally, Jamilu would have liked to destroy that storage facility and cut off the Hive's supply lines. But he didn't have the time. Now that he'd given the others an opportunity to escape, he needed to seize an opportunity of his own. Once he'd opened up a gap in the Hive's forces, he would... The Hive spoke in unison. Doomsday Clock! Jamilu's eyes widened as a massive ornate timepiece hovering in the air before him, becoming the centerpiece of the room through its sheer presence. It bore hands of bone and banners of ragged skin hung from its body. Immediately, his thoughts of escape were put aside. Doomsday Clock was an ability that had been famous. No, infamous, even before the Hive of Malkuth had acquired it. Its user had been like Nebula 10, human garbage who delighted in massacre. Someone who did not kill for a purpose, but whose purpose was killing. Jamilu's principality knew how this ability worked. Every 5 seconds, it would automatically launch an attack against a target within range, weakest first. Once a target had died, they would be removed from the kill list, and so the Doomsday Clock would slowly work its way up to the strongest within its operational range. Judging from the number of notches on the clock before Jamilu, there was no doubt that the civilians escaping from the club were still within range. Without Aether, an attack from the Doomsday Clock would pop a human body like a balloon, but the Hive didn't care about that. To them, anything that would cause Jamilu to hesitate was a minor victory. When the Doomsday Clock activated, there would be 5 seconds before it attacked the first target, before it took its first life. From there, it would be a murderous second. The streets would be bathed in blood. 5! That was as much countdown as they were going to get. If these creatures wanted to make Nebula 2 hesitate, they'd have to do better than that. Jamilu reached down and tore off his own pinky finger. As a warrior of Ingansi, he had been raised with 3 principles in his heart. To serve and honor the Oba. To serve and honor the nation. To serve and honor the people. With these duties in mind, Jamilu Aguta had trained since he was a child to fight for his homeworld, to control victory, to take evil in his hand and not be consumed by it. He had never betrayed those vows, and he never would. If he had to sacrifice a body part to perform his duty, then there was nothing else to be said, and there was certainly no reason to stand there agonizing about it. Pink aether sparking around him, Jamilu hurled his severed finger at the face of the Doomsday Clock, and the digit became a point of light. That clock would not survive 1 more second. Victory's third ability was no Freischütz, but it had been designed to oppose aether all the same. Ignited by victory, even just his saliva could melt through most aether barriers, and a finger was far more than just blood. Calamity! The hand of the clock went to tick, but before it could talk, flame ate filth. Ooh, the self-sacrificer. That was fun. That was a fun read. I hope the voices were still there. My throat felt a little weird.
Everyone is here.
We have some questions this week, I believe. Are you ready for them?
Yeah.
Alright, where did I last leave off? People be talking a lot. Okay. MT asks, oh wait, no, that's too far back. That can't be right. Or is it? I'm looking for... Give me 1 second, buddy. Okay. MT asks, how different are the Kennel Master's dogs from Guardian entities?
They're a little bit different because they're actually like physical things. Like he has to move them around and have a dog that stores them and stuff. But in terms of being like Aether-infused beings and Aether-altered beings that have their own sort of unique abilities, they're pretty similar in that regard.
Okay.
They're sort of parallel versions of the same basic concept, I would say.
I gotcha. Lan asks, pretty much all of the planets we've seen are absolute shitholes. Is that the norm for the supremacy?
Well, the supremacy, I would say probably yes. If you're not like in the higher tiers of society, but UAP is no picnic either because depends where you're on the UAP, basically.
The Hell Worlds. Rirum asks, how much does the average person know about the Sapphire Star, and how public is the info? As in, everyone's heard of George Washington, but anyone can look up Martin Van Buren.
It's very much you would not know about that as a regular person.
Rirum also asks, because of the banquet, is Mr. Guest gonna die?
Well, he left after he got paid off, so he's not on planet. He fucked off immediately.
Will there be a bounty for him, or is he fine?
He's fine. He's gone back to the UAP. He's not really an issue.
Nice. Wiser asks, does Anduin actually feel any less hungry after eating someone, or is it an eternal and unchanging hunger that he can't even
So his Aether ticket is hunger. So, and it's similar to Ashes in the way that it intensifies the more he uses it. So the amount of hungry he gets is constantly increasing.
Okay.
So he does briefly have flashes of coming back to like his senses, but the hunger is completely divorced from him biologically. It's not something he can like quench by actually eating, even though he feels that drive. So the hunger will never go away.
Damn. Lan asks how much time has passed since the start of Arc 12.
Since start 12, probably a couple months at this point.
Alright. I think we'll leave off there for now.
No problem.
Alright, well thank you all for watching, and we shall see you next time. Bye!
Bye.